at the moment, and seemingly always, to keep us preoccupied, well, indefinitely, really. And perhaps that's the point, to keep us preoccupied with these gloomy stories and negative stories that bring us down and make us into gloomy Gusses and negative Nellies and people who just obsess on all of the bad things happening in the world, to the point where we become like those entrants to Dante's hell who just simply abandon all hope, ye who enter here, and ultimately give up. It's part of divide and conquer, it's part of information overload, it's part of the ways they keep us from actually at least even recognizing the possibility of progress and positive developments. So in order to counteract that, people might remember that I've had a couple of episodes of the podcast in the past talking about 100 signs we are winning back in 2009, where I went through 100 positive developments at that time. Episode 273, we are still winning, and again, dozens of different positive stories that were going on at that time. That was 2 years ago, though. So, well, what in 2015 can we look to as positive signs and signs of progress that we are in fact making headway in our struggle? Not to say that the struggle is over or that we're definitively winning, but that there are signs that we are doing things that actually matter. Well, I want to solicit your opinion on that. In fact, I'm going to announce a contest towards that end. But before we announce the contest, let's get into, well, just a couple of stories that I've highlighted recently. A couple of interesting and kind of funny ones, like this hand-wringy video from the CBC's The National that I'll direct your attention to. Of course, you can get the full video in the show notes. But let's just listen to a little bit of it where they lament, the youth aren't voting in the elections the way they used to.
There is discontent. The protesters, many of them young, don't speak for everyone, of course, but express a sentiment we've heard elsewhere in the streets about a confusion, a disconnect with the political elite.
And mostly, I don't actually think they care what we think, actually.
Many simply feel politically abandoned.
Like me, I'm 20 and I've never voted from the time I could be able to, just because I don't know who to vote for. And I feel like whoever I vote for, they're still going to do the same thing anyway.
So, no desire.
So, as you can imagine, the CBC goes on to say, isn't it tragic that youth are starting to lose faith in this political charade that we've dangled in front of them for generations, and now the youth are waking up to this, and we must do everything we can to draw them back in, and they lament the UK election turnout. Only 44% of those 18 to 24 are voting, whereas 3/4 of those over 65. So basically, voters are dying off, and the youth are decreasingly interested in the charade. Well, I would call that a great thing, and this video goes on to note, there's a lot of room for improvement here. Well, I would say yes, room for improvement down to 0, and hopefully we are progressing in that way, and I think that, again, is a positive development. Of course, this is not just about the UK. This is, I think, a phenomenon that's happening in a lot of the developed Western democracies with their flowery rhetoric about, it's the people that are running the country, whatever that actually means. Well, actually, of course, it just means that the people in the positions of political and financial power are pulling the strings of the puppets that are selected into place rather than elected. And again, I think a lot of people are waking up to this. I think this is a positive sign, a positive development. There's things for example, in the food realm. Back in May, we had this story from ANH USA. Did the media just buckle from biotech industry pressure? Basically talking about when Chipotle announced that they were going to go to non-GMO ingredients, the press started going crazy, and there was all these attacks on them. They're going GMO-free is terrible news, and GMO gimmick is hard to swallow, and all of this type of stuff. Well, regardless of whether or not this type of thing is a gimmick, and, usually when a large corporation does this, it is some sort of gimmick or just attempt to just shamefacedly cash in on a trend. At any rate, it is a trend. The consumers are increasingly concerned about these GMO foods that they're not even allowed to know are GMO foods, according to the US laws. And that is a positive development in and of itself. Obviously, again, there's a lot of room to go there and a lot of work that needs to still be done to wean ourselves off of this GMO food supply, but the public is waking up to it, and the public is fighting back against it. And of course, all of the usual corporate media prostitutes will come out with their hysterics, trying to paint this as some sort of terrible trend, but we know better. And of course, that is actually related to another great trend that I see developing. In fact, we just saw recently a huge sell-off in media stocks on Wall Street. Wall Street ended sharply lower on Thursday as weak earnings reports from media companies stirred fears that more viewers are ditching cable TV. Oh no. Well, of course, more viewers are ditching cable TV, just as they've been ditching newspapers for a long time. And yes, the internet is increasingly becoming the number one source for news and information for most people, which is a mixed bag because there is terrible information out there on the internet as well. But the point is, it's the people who get to decide, at this point anyway, for the most part, which sites they're visiting and where they're getting their news from. And it's not coming from a handful of executives who are tied into the big five corporations that own 90% of American media, or at least the traditional dinosaur media. So dinosaur media is failing, and that is a good thing. Another trend that I think is exceptionally important and very heartening is this one, reflected in this story, talking about the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors has dropped water fluoridation from their agenda without a word to the press or the public. This was back a few weeks ago. And it's interesting that this happened in this way, and especially at this time, as this article goes on to note, much new information about fluoridation has been published recently. For example, in June, studies showed that water fluoridation is associated with greater prevalence of ADHD and hypothyroidism in large populations. And then it talks about fluorosis and other ill effects of fluoridation. So this knowledge is gradually leaking its way down into the public consciousness in the United States and the handful of other countries that really have embraced fluoridation, because let's keep in mind, the whole world doesn't fluoridate in the way that the United States and some of the other developed Western democracies do. So, and this is on the back of the fact that the U.S. has just lowered its fluoride levels for the first time in over 50 years, and they're now saying they're trying to basically walk back a little bit on the fluoridation and say, oh, now Americans are getting them from toothpaste and mouthwash and other products, so they don't need as much in their water supply, which is of course the first step of backing away from the fluoridation program, which, let's not forget, the CDC called one of the 10 great public health achievements in the 20th century. Well, that BS is being exposed and is being reflected in stories like this one from the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors dropping their fluoridation plans, but perhaps more accurately encapsulated here at fluoridealert.org, the Fluoride Action Network, where they have a list of communities that have rejected fluoridation since 2010. It is now up to almost 200, just shy of 200 communities have rejected water fluoridation in the past 5 years. 4.5 really. And you can go through this list. It's all documented here. Just, again, another, I think, really hopeful sign. So there are positive developments, positive signs, positive trends, but I don't want to come up with some all-encompassing list. I want to call on the wisdom of the crowd, as it were, and pick your brain for what you think are some of the winning signs, signs that we are winning, signs of positive trends and positive developments, progress on any front related to corporate report type matters. So in order to do so, as I say, I will be announcing a contest, and the contest winner will get a corporate report DVD shipped to them completely free of charge anywhere in the world, and any DVD from the corporate report that you want. So my latest Laughing at Tyrants, The Century of Enslavement, whichever one, even the data DVDs, just pick a DVD and you will get it. But how do you enter the contest? Well, you will go to the videos section where, at the moment, of course, this video that you're watching right now is not posted, but it will be posted up, obviously, by the time you're watching this. And you will go to the video and you will go into it, and you'll go down to the comment section, and you will leave your positive development, positive trend, sign of progress there in the comment section. Obviously, to comment, you will have to be logged in, so this contest is only for CorbettReport.com members. But yes, you will leave your positive development or positive trend here in the comment section, and let's say, let's say 72 hours. So this video is being posted Sunday night Japanese time, which is Sunday afternoon European time, Sunday morning North American time. So by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night Japanese time, Wednesday morning North American time, please have your submission in the comment section here, and I will choose what I think is the best best sign, the best development, the best link that someone can provide, the most heartwarming story, whatever it is. And yes, that's very subjective. And yes, I am the final arbiter of this contest. I am the judge. But please, I'm looking forward to seeing your responses. And please note that any negative Nellies, gloomy Gusses, or naysayers will be ignored in this contest, at least for the purposes of this contest. I want to hear the positive developments and positive signs. So